Sounds good. Hi, everyone. I want to thank you for being here today, where we are going to talk about our North Central SARE Graduate Student Grant Program. And our application is now open for our graduate student call for proposals. So we'll give you some information about that. With me today is my friend Marie Flanagan. So she'll be backing me up here. Hi, Marie.
Hello, everyone.
She's our communications person, so she helps all of our projects. So that's one thing to keep in mind is should you be awarded a grant, then Marie can help you spread the word if you would like to and might want to tell your story about the project that you do.
And just a little bit
Okay.
of technical, um, this webinar is being recorded, and the recording and the slides from this webinar will be made available on the Graduate Student Grant page after this.
Wonderful. Thank you, Marie. I appreciate that. Let's see here. So I am Betsy Wieland, and I'm Associate Director here with North Central Region SARE. I'm based at University of Minnesota in St. Paul, and I manage this graduate student program, and I also manage our partnership grant as well. So today, here's the agenda for what we're going to go over. I'll give you some overview about SARE and North Central Region SARE. Might help you understand a little bit about us and our mission and how that might affect your proposal. I will go into the details of the graduate student proposal, some tips for writing, the application process, some tips for that, and then we'll have some time for questions as we go too. All right, so here's some fast facts. So you can just check and make sure if you're in the right place and might make some quick decisions if this is a good fit for you or not. The maximum allowed to ask for in our proposals is $20,000. The maximum time you can ask for is 36 months. The maximum indirect cost that we can allow is 10%. We also require that graduate students are enrolled in a graduate program or a veterinary residency by the start of the project. The earliest you can start your project that we can pay for things associated with the project is October 1st of this year. And so what we define as the goal for this project is to fund projects related to some aspect of sustainable agriculture. They might address economic viability of farms, improving environmental conditions related to agriculture and or quality of life for farmers. And that's pretty broad, we know, but that's what we define as the goal of this program. Okay, let's transition a little bit into SARE, North Central Region. SARE is a granting program, and we want to advance sustainability and innovations across the whole of American agriculture. So we work all across the country. There's 4 regions. We're in the gold region there. We cover those 12 the geography of the 12 states in gold there. SARE is part of the USDA and is funded through the National Institute of Food and Agriculture. Let's see here. So we are a little bit different grants program than some you might have know about. We did start in 1988, and we work hard to be decentralized, to be science-based, grassroots problem solving, practical, and inclusive in the work that we do and the work that we fund. Our model that we look to fund projects around are those that are based around the 3 legs of sustainability. You may be familiar with those. We look for projects that are helping agriculture be more ecologically sound, be more economically viable, and be as socially responsible as we can. Your project may focus on one aspect of this more than the others, but we do ask you in the proposal to address all 3 legs of sustainability and how this project might impact those. Successful SARE projects do keep farmers and ranchers in mind and the focus of the work. We like to fund projects that explore problems identified by farmers and ranchers, and projects that involve farmers and ranchers throughout the whole project, whether that's the need for in the design or the implementation and outreach of the project. A fair number of us have a lot of training and background in the research side of things around the environmental side or perhaps the economic side. The social sustainability piece is something that researchers and educators often have less experience in. So if that's the case for you, there's this great publication on our SARE website there that talks about social sustainability and understanding and measuring social sustainability related to agriculture. So if you'd like a little bit more information to do some thinking about that, you are welcome to use that publication. As I mentioned, with SARE, we do work across all of agriculture, from large-scale ranches to small urban operations and kind of everywhere in between. So this is kind of a sampling of some of the types of work that we have funded in the past that's in our grant portfolios. And if you are unsure if something that you're working on might be a fit or not, you are always welcome to reach out to myself to discuss. Another part of SARE, there's kind of two parts that we think about. There's the granting part of it, and then we also have our SARE outreach, which is an important part of what we do. So we have all this great information that comes in from the projects that we fund, and much of that gets compiled into publications. So if you are looking to use materials for curriculum pieces or for distributing out to others in your area, take a look at these publications and see if they might be a fit for you. You can reach out to us to see if we might be able to get you some of those download for free, or sometimes the publications or the bulletins are available for free as well. So you can certainly include those in your project costs as well. So SARE helps with outreach, with connecting with media. We do portfolios on in-depth projects, a wide variety of them there. You can see all of those online. We also might be connecting with folks with their projects to write stories about the impacts of their projects and how they went and what was learned, and the good work that happens with those. All right, so we are in the North Central region, as I mentioned, and we are the states that are in gold. We're based here at the University of Minnesota. So the way that the grant works is that the contract that gets issued for the grant is actually with your institution and the University of Minnesota. So we've got 8 staff that work across the region. Some work on our competitive grants that we give out. And we also have state coordinators, at least one based in every state in the region. So they are a great resource for you, and you can learn more at northcentral.sare.org. That's our main website, and we've got a lot of great information there. And I'll show you some more details of that later as well. We have 6 competitive grant programs. I've listed them here in order of the maximum allowed funding. And so the graduate student is right in the middle there, and you are welcome to explore the others on our webpage as well. Again, we try to address kind of the continuum of research and education, from youth to research and education at accredited universities and the like. Okay, so now here's a little bit more detail about our graduate student program. The deadline for submitting your proposal is Thursday, May 29th, and that's 4 p.m. Central Time. Okay, so everything has to be in by there. I see Marie put in the chat a link to where to go to get that information. Thank you for that. As I said, the maximum that you can ask for is $20,000. That includes the indirect costs The maximum length of the project that we can cover is 36 months. The project does need to be led by a graduate student. We consider this, oftentimes, well, I should say, we do consider this the graduate student's project. The faculty advisor might need to be the one that signs off on the paperwork based on your university's policies. But we do expect the graduate student to be doing the work and assume the PI duties. We often get asked, I'm in an institution outside of those 12 states. Can I still apply? And the answer is, if the majority of the work that's happening is within those 12 states, you would probably have a shot at it. You don't have to have all of the work happening in there, but it might be one where you want to give me a call and we can talk through it to see if it might be a fit. And sometimes you might be able to apply, but your competitiveness might go up or down based on the situation. We do have an online application process, and I'll walk you through that. Last year, we funded 22 out of the 74 proposals that were submitted. And we often get asked, can it be a portion of your graduate work? And the answer is yes. So if you are doing a PhD and you've got a big project, but you would like some SARE funding to do a small portion of it, like a grower survey or something that's in addition to the larger project that you're doing, we definitely fund that. We would just ask you to be really clear about what this grant would be covering versus what other grants would be covering. Who can apply? As I mentioned, we do ask you to be enrolled at an accredited college or university by the time that the project would begin. And a vet med residency counts as well. And see, I talked about that, about the graduate student. We do expect you to be leading the project, both in managing the budget as well as the work that's happening. We often get first-time applicants as well, so we try to be constructive and helpful in the application and in the process of managing that grant. We want to help build your skills to be a researcher and educator in sustainable ag in the future. And then I mentioned that as well about the college and university outside the region. If the work is happening in the region, we can accommodate that. So you might be wondering, well, maybe why should I apply? And like I said, we do strive to help you grow as researchers and educators. We want it to be a good experience for you. So it can be a good introduction, a first time for you to do that and learn that process. We do work to build your network of peers regionally. So we'll do our best to provide some opportunities to meet other graduate students around the area that might be working on something similar to you. We do try to help you become more familiar with sustainable agriculture principles, and it's a good way to learn some of that. And also, if you're working in agriculture, it's important to think about how your work might be affecting farmers and ranchers. And we also try to help you build your skills productively with that. And, try to help you build your portfolio for getting published works. Let's see. I see there's a question from Parisa. The proposal approval rate. It varies a little bit. Last year we had a little bit of a rise, but last year we had 72 proposals come in and we funded 22. So that's about a third, 35% success rate or so. Okay, so you might be wondering, I mentioned about what types of programs or what types of projects that we fund. Thanks, Marie. So here's some information about just looking at the last 5 years, the types of projects that we funded. If you want to look at the commodity, if that's how you're thinking about it, this is the number of proposals funded in those areas versus if you're thinking about it, is it or is it the type of system that you're working in, just to give a sense of the diversity of types of projects that we fund. And these are self-selected by the applicants. All right, so some tips for thinking about with successful proposals, what we see, again, demonstrating that relevance to sustainable ag across the region. We do look for things that are going to impact farmers and ranchers across our region and hopefully the nation. Those that can articulate their intended outcomes with those three legs of sustainability, the economics, the environment, and the social components. We strongly encourage you to reference other SARE projects that might be similar or different to what you are looking at. Successful proposals, as I mentioned, involve farmer ranchers in some aspect of it, whether that's documenting the need for the work from farmers and ranchers, or them being involved in the project and the research, or the excuse me, the outreach as well. We look for projects that have good budgets that are appropriate to the work that's happening and are clearly defined budgets. I'll get into that a little bit more as well. And the more that you can clearly identify what your intended outcomes are, the outputs, the outreach, and the evaluation, I will say a little bit more about each of those as well. Those will help increase your chances as well. I encourage you to download the call for proposals and read through that very clearly. We have a lot more detail in there than I can go into in this presentation. But again, make sure that you're really clear with how the project helps us and SARE meet our goals for sustainability. Be clear about what you want to do, how you'll do it, and why you want to do it. And, show to us that you've got the right team and the tools to show that you can have a successful project. Do get started early so you don't get short on time. Set a realistic budget. I'll say a couple of times here that we'll need you to explain how every item is calculated. We do go through every budget item and make sure that we can understand what the need for is in the project and why that budget item is needed. Keep your reviewers in mind and make sure that they can understand what you're saying. I'll say another bit about that. And ask for help. We are here to help you. We pride ourselves on being available to grant applicants. So we're here and we're happy to answer questions. All right, so when you're thinking about those big picture SARE goals, we're thinking about what kind of impact is your project going to have on agriculture in the region. So, how will it help farmers and their businesses or their communities? How will it help them with their economic viability or with environmental quality or enhancing their quality of life, either for the farmers and ranchers themselves or in their community or society? So it sometimes helps to, as you're defining your project, to zoom out a little bit. We have the short-term knowledge gains of, they might learn a concept or a skill, and those can lead to behavior change, which might be they're changing their approach or applying a skill that they've learned out in their farm or ranch. And then the impact would be a broader condition change or a broader reach outside of the region, perhaps. So those are some things to think about as you are putting together your justification for your project here. One example of this is you might be doing some workshops where you're teaching farmers strategies for selling to institutions, right? So the knowledge gain would be them learning what those strategies are. The behavior change might be them implementing those strategies and seeing an increase in sales. And thus the impact, the longer term impact might be more financially stable or more fresh produce out into the community. So that's kind of one way to think about it. Okay, so thinking again about this, if it helps you think about it in a little bit different way, we fund proposals that contribute to farmers and ranchers, increasing their economic viability, environmental quality, enhancing the quality of life for the farmers and ranchers, their communities, and society as a whole. So some examples of some recently funded projects, quite a bit around soil health right now and cover crops, microbiology, soil amendments, fertility, carbon cycling. We work with funding grazing systems projects, integrated pest management projects, and that's everything from pastures and livestock facilities, row crops, orchards, vegetables, anywhere with insect structural, insect management, prairie strips and cropping systems, weed management as a perennial issue that we see projects around, community and farmer rancher well-being, new, small, underrepresented beginning farmer projects, looking at a variety of situations there, curriculum for barriers to businesses, that sort of thing, up to watershed scale modeling and land management and many others. And I'll show you in a sec here where to go to see some of those. So if you think you've got an idea that might be a good fit, now what? Let's get you thinking about how do you pull together your application materials. So if you really want to identify if this really is a good fit for you, get the call for proposals, make sure that you do that and understand all the details in there. Look at what's been funded, and notice how those things that have been funded in the past, how they are similar or different from you, and those are great to include in your proposal. Okay. Here's some examples of budget items that we can and cannot include. So just as you're thinking about big picture about your project and what you might want to do, we can pay for your time. We can pay for other research and educators that are involved with it. If you are involving farmers, we strongly support paying farmers for their time and efforts. We can pay for supplies, equipment. We have a limit of paying for $5,000. We can't pay more than $5,000 for equipment. So if there's something more than that, if you want to talk through it with us, we can help you determine if it's eligible or not. We can pay for travel expenses for the project. Meeting events, we can pay for those. We do have to pay attention to the food. If it's part of the continuity of the meeting, we can pay for it. So there's a little bit of detail to work through there. Again, we can help you if you want. We cannot pay for permanent structures. So we have paid for hoop houses in vegetable production because they are movable. They're not considered permanent. We can't pay for branded attire or promotional items, and we can't pay for your tuition or books. If there's a book that's not part of a curriculum piece it's a pretty specific one that you need for your research or education, that would probably be eligible. Okay. Again, more information in that call for proposals. As you're writing your proposal, keep in mind that we do have reporting requirements. So this is some of the information that we would expect you and will ask you for in your reporting. So plan on gathering that information. And in the proposal, that's in that expectations matrix, and has that full list in there for you to see. All right, and then we will ask you to share the results of your project as well. So there'll be annually a progress report that's done in the projects.sare.org, which is where you do your application process. You go back in and you do your annual report, then you can go back in and update that for if you have other annual reports or your final report as well. So there's that expectation as well. And then also, we do a fair amount of storytelling about the work that's happening. And so you might get a call or a visit from Marie or myself wanting to talk about how the project is going. We love getting stories and pictures, so plan on taking pictures, and we can help you with things like video and that sort of thing. You might be wondering who decides about which projects get funded, and we have review committees that are made up of a variety of personnel. There's often faculty advisors from that don't have students submitting proposals. We have government and nonprofit personnel, and some of our state coordinators sometimes review We do have the scoring criteria are also in the call for proposals, so you can go in and look at exactly the questions that we ask the reviewers. That's exactly what's loaded into the system. So another thing you can do just to check and see how you're doing is you can try to score yourself, or you can ask a friend to read through it and score it for you. It might give you some insights into what you might want to tweak as you're drafting your proposal. The other note here is I had mentioned about keep your reviewers in mind. They may or may not be experts in your area of study. They might be, but they might not be. So make sure that you're not using jargon or you're explaining that jargon as you go, and just make sure that it's clear and not necessarily somebody who spends every day thinking about what your topic of study is. Okay, here's the timeline. The calls are due May 29th, as I said. They will be reviewed in June, and then the decisions will be made in July, and we'll notify applicants as soon as we can after those funding decisions are made. The actual decision itself is made by our administrative council, which is made up of a similar group as I'd mentioned before there. And then the funds we're hoping to have available October 1. We need a little bit of time there between July and October to get the contracts finalized and signed and all of that stuff. So that's the delay there. Then you would have a project report probably due, kind of depends on the duration of your project. Over a year later, you would have an annual report to submit, and we send reminders for you about that. And then your final report would be due 60 days after the end of the project. And again, we send reminders for you, and it would be in your letter of notification as well. All right, so you've got an idea that you want to submit. You're going to go ahead and do that. You've got a big picture friend or big picture idea here. We do encourage you to call a friend. I'm here to ask questions. I also mentioned we have state coordinators as well. They can help review your proposals or connect you with farmers and ranchers possibly. The Michael Fields Institute is also very helpful for writing grants. There might be other extension educators, NCR-SARE, or soil and water folks that might be interested in what you're doing and could help you make sure your proposal is very strong. And I'd mentioned that we have our website there that does have a lot of this information on there. There's two main websites. There's this, our North Central Region SARE website, where you can learn about our programs. You can download the call for proposals. We have a link to our state coordinators there, and you can find my information as well again. So under state programs, you can click on your state coordinator to find them. If you're struggling, let me know. The other website is projects.sare.org. That's where you actually do submit your application, and you'll apply for the grant there. And this is also where you can search for past funded grants as well. So there's this little magnifying glass up there. You can click that for the search. And should you be awarded a grant, this is where you'll go to manage that grant as well. If your contact information changes or to submit your report and all that stuff, that's where all of this stuff happens. So if you want to search for projects, if you click that little the little magnifying glass, this is what you see. And you can either, if you know a project that you're interested in, otherwise, you can put in any key terms that you're interested in, or if you're looking in particular regions or particular types of projects. It's a pretty usable database. So we've got over 5,000 projects in there that might be useful for you. And again, those are good to reference in your proposal. So this is what it looks like. Is you'll get a list of the project and then a brief description of what that project is like, so you can see if that is applicable to you or not. Okay, so step 2 is find a friend if you need it. Step 3 is go ahead and start developing your proposal. So these are kind of the 3 big areas in the proposal: is the project proposal, the budget, and then attachments that you'll need to provide. We do recommend that you use a word processing app like Word or Google Docs to draft the different sections and then copy and paste those in. It's going to be a lot more efficient for you to make sure you've got all the parts and pieces for you. I think Hilson, I'm going to hold off until we get a little bit farther to answer that question, just so I can make sure that I get through everything. So Marie, if there's something you think I should jump in on, please feel free to interrupt me. Okay, so here are all the different proposal sections. I'm going to highlight just some of those that people have questions about and just kind of highlight some of the areas here. Okay, so let's take a look at this body of the proposal. So this is really where you're going to describe, that's kind of the guts of the project, where you're going to do all the details about who, what, when, where, why. Right? Okay. So first you're going to have a summary that's 400 words. And again, this information is again in the call for proposals. So if you're wondering what's in each of these sections, go back there again, but just so you can see kind of what to expect, what's in there. Again, we ask about the 3 legs of sustainability and the impact that you expect to have. Those outcomes, what are those, you know, what do you want to have happen because of this project, kind of in that shorter term? What would you like them to learn or behavior that you would like farmers and ranchers to change based on the work that you did, right? And then you've got your, let's see, your statement, background justification. So that's kind of, yeah, what's the need for the project and justifying why is this something that needs to get worked on. The approach and methods, this is kind of like, you know, in your papers, this is your materials and methods. What are you going to do? You know, how will you get it done so we can understand really what's going to happen in the project and what's going to come out of it. Timelines are helpful to know kind of what, how will things happen and what to do there. So, and the outputs are the tangible things like how many field days are you going to hold? How many, you know, presentations are you going to put together? How many research trials are you going to do? How many, you know, scientific papers do you expect to write? That kind of thing. Or articles do you plan to publish? That kind of thing. And then outreaches, how do you plan to share it beyond the project, right? So how would you like to share this with farmers and ranchers? How would you like to share this with other researchers, et cetera, with other ag professionals across the region? An evaluation, this is the understanding, did you have an impact or not? So, right, so we talk about you want to measure knowledge gains or behavior change. I'd like farmers to, you know, to adopt this practice. How are you going to find out if they did or not? So how do you plan to survey or interview or look at number of downloads or something like that to know what kind of impact that you're having? The experience and roles is your team and yourself and your advisor and other key members of your team, and you know, what's their background and their experience and the tools and resources available for the reviewers to have confidence that you can get the job done. If this is a resubmission and you're submitting it again and you know, you're responding to reviewer comments, you know, if you're tweaking something about your proposal based on feedback you got last time, this is your opportunity to do that. Okay, so that's kind of the overview about the proposal and the body of the proposal. Then there's the budget. So think about all the things that need to happen that you need to pay for with the project, right? So as I said, you need to show somewhere about the need for that budget item. And then, you know, you need you to calculate out why you want the money that you do, right? We need you to show your math. We do go through every budget and make sure all the math adds up. If not, Jean will call you and ask you questions and help sort it out, right? Let's see here. And as I said, meals can be included. So let's say you're going to have a field day. That definitely makes sense to include lunch there. Plan to keep a list of attendees and an agenda with that. So we'll need that to reimburse you for the work. It's harder for us to like pay for breakfast at the start. If they come eat breakfast and then head into a 2-hour meeting, that's harder for us to justify, as an example. And we can only pay 10% indirect. And here's an example of how that might look calculated. So let's say your total direct expenses are, 18,000, 18,700. So then you can do the 10% of that is the 1,800. Oh, my math isn't good there. Take that 7 off. Apologize for that. So you can see that the total is underneath 20,000. And then that's how you would justify that. Goodness gracious. Okay, so, and here's what that might look like in your justification too. So if you need to buy materials or supplies, you just say, I need $60 because, they're $30 for each of them, and I got 2 packages, so that's $60, right? So I needed to buy tomato starch. They were each $4. I bought 20 of them. That was $80, right? So hopefully that makes sense. Again, feel free to call and ask questions if you need to. We use the GSA rate for travel reimbursement, so you can use that like you would for your institution's travel policies. All right, and then there's a couple of attachments to think about and gather those up as you're pulling your proposal together. The required ones are the summary table of outcomes, outputs, activities, inputs, and evaluation. The funding that you past, present, and pending for SARE work. And then I'll spend a little bit of time on this application sign-off sheet as well. Not required. In some situations, the animal care, the IRB form might be required. You can go with your institution on that, whether they require that IRB ahead of time. The animal care can happen after you're getting funding. So if you think you might need a IACUC approval, you can do that after you get notice of award. There is a spot to upload like letters of support or farmer letters of participation or support as are useful. Okay, so here's an example of what this summary table might look like. Again, there's an example in your call for proposals. If you're familiar with logic models and you want to you've got a template that you like for that, that would certainly work, right? So we talked about the expected outcomes, what would you want farmers to do, the outputs, we talked about that. Adopting new protocols, putting together a curriculum as an output. And then the activities that you would do to do those, and the inputs, the things that are gonna, the expenses that you've got, and how will you do your follow-up survey work to know if things happen or not, right? Okay, so this, the application sign-off sheet, I just want to warn you that it can take a little bit of time. So don't leave this until the day that you want to turn things in. I just want to get this on your radar to check in with your grants office to see what their timing is for turning things in. It might be a week or more. So to reach out to them to see when they need to have the materials in hand to look at and to sign things on time. Right. So what you're going to do is you're going to go in and complete your whole application online. You're going to print it, and there'll be a spot to print the unsigned sign-off sheet. You're going to give it to your grants administration office. They're going to review it, and then they will sign it and give it back to you, and then you can upload that last sign-off sheet. Okay. And again, details are in the call for proposals, but I just want to make sure that people don't get caught off guard when they're pulling things together at the very end. I don't want that to be the reason the proposal doesn't come in. Okay, I'm going to pause there. Marie, any questions that I should go back to? And then from here, we're going to go into the application process.
There's quite a few questions, but I think we can hold them till the end.
Okay. All right, I'm going to try to go fairly quickly through the application process just to give you a sense of some things that kind of hang people up once in a while. Okay. So as I say, you're going to go to projects.sare.org. And this is what that when you go to click the login or go to that main page, this is what you see. And you are going to, if you haven't started an account yet, you're going to create an account or you're going to log in. Excuse me. And again, that's projects.sare.org. I just wanted to make a note that we do ask for you to complete demographic data, but I just wanted you all to know that that demographic data is separated from your application. That is not considered in the application process itself. We just use it for our own improvement purposes. All right, so once you're logged in, you can start, this is what you'll see, and you can start a new grant proposal. We are the North Central region, so that's where you will be applying. We might be the only open, I know for the North Central region, this is the only open call right now, so make sure you're selecting the right call, and then you can begin your proposal. And then if you need to update your information, that's in the upper right there. So if your address changes or something like that, please keep us in the know for that. And then this is what you'll see for that first page there, and then you can start editing your proposal. So how the system works is where you see red lettering, like where it says not submitted, or the missing description, you'll see things that are in red or things that are not completed. So you can edit that title to update your title, and for the missing project description, you can click edit description, and it will update that for you. As you go along, you see the red asterisks and the red no faculty advisor. Those have not been updated. So as you update those, that red goes away. And so like when you're done with your call for proposal, or I'm sorry, you're done with your cover section, that asterisk would go away. So that's how you kind of know if you've got all your sections done or not. You can always go back to the overview. That's how the main page, if you want to go back there, and then you can always go back and view a draft as well. You can share the link with somebody, like if your advisor, you'd like your advisor to take a look at it, or you've got a farmer partner that you'd like to take a look at things, you can share that link with them for them to see it. Okay, and again, notes on budget, that's where you could go and make sure you explain how your math is calculated. Make sure you save early and save often. The system does not automatically save for you, so make sure you save frequently. You might need to talk to your grants folks about the unique entity ID, or they might know it as a DUNS number. That's an information that's unique to your institution. And then, yep, so you might, again, that's your reminder about the institutional information. And oh, I see I didn't update that. But again, you'll click to download that sign-off sheet, and that's kind of what it looks like, a little bit of it. I didn't update that slide. Okay, and then when you think you're all done, or you know you're all done, you've got your sign-off sheet is submitted. When everything is uploaded, then the submit proposal button will turn dark green. You won't be able to submit if you're missing items. So when you think you're ready, go ahead and click submit. Then we want to make sure you really mean it. So we make you click again on another submit button. So, so when you click this one, then congratulations, it has been submitted. You will receive an email confirmation, and a copy of that goes to your advisor as well. So they will have that. And so if you think you submitted and you don't get an email pretty quick, you can call us or go back in the system and see if you missed something. And again, we can go in and look in the system and see where your proposal is too. So if you get stuck and need help with something, let us know. If you hit submit and then something happens and you need to unsubmit, that's okay. You can do that. There's a button to do that, but just know you have to resubmit it again. If you unsubmit and you don't hit that submit button again, then your proposal is not fully submitted. So just make sure that you need to do that. Then again, you can always get back to it when you log in to projects.sare.org. There's a section called Manage Grant Applications, and that's where you will find your project if you want to come back to it. Okay. Okay, so is that enough information? All right, but wait, there's more. Our colleague Liz Brownlee just did some lovely videos, more geared to our farmer rancher grant, but there might be some information in there that's helpful. Some videos about what's a good fit for SARE grant, how does the funding work, and some of those. What should I put in the outreach section? So if you want to take a look at those, feel free. And just as a reminder, again, there's two main websites that are there for your help. Might be good to bookmark those. There's northcentral.sare.org. That's where you can find people to talk to. You can find the call for proposals, all the information you're looking for. And then the SARE database is projects.sare.org. That's where you're going to research the previously funded projects. You're going to submit your application and manage your grant. Okay, so here's a reminder. I hope I said enough. Read the call for proposals, search the SARE database, start your draft, try scoring it. It really is a good way to see kind of what looks good and what you maybe need to work on. Talk to your grants folks about that application sign-off sheet. Make sure you have plenty of time there, and then call with questions. Okay, so here's my contact information. We also have our main number there, should you can't get a hold of me for some reason. Although I will be here. We're there to help you. So thank you for taking your time to be here today, either with me in person or watching through this online. And we look forward to working with you and reading your proposals. It's an exciting time for us to hear about all the great work happening around the region. Okay, with that, Marie, would you help me with questions here?
Yeah, so there are several questions in the Q&A, which I can read to you, or you can read them yourself, however you prefer. And then there's some in the chat as well.
Okay, I think there was a big one. How far back? There was one from Hilson. Is that what's easiest? Have you got kind of a sense of kind of the common ones?
Sure. Yeah, I can just read them to you if you'd like.
That'd be fabulous.
Is it individual student, or can a group of students be involved in a research proposal?
That's a good question. You can have more than one student involved in the work, but one will need to be the kind of the PI and the lead for our application process. So, but just be clear in those roles, you know, whose responsibility it is to do what.
For a 24-month project, if the project student is graduating within a year, can the student still continue after graduation?
We have had that situation happen, yes, as long as the project gets done and you let us know where you are so we can follow up. And I mean, we try not to, we try to have it be within the duration. That might be one that might be good to call and talk through the details of it. But if it's just a few months, we can usually make that work. If you're starting and then you've still got, it's a 3-year project and you're done in a year, that might be, reviewers might have some questions about that.
Moving on, how often are first-time applicants successful? I'm not sure we track that information.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'm going to phone a friend on that one. If Beth has a sense of that, if she happens to be on still, she might have ducked off. I don't have a sense of that, but I think that the majority probably are first-time applicants, is my understanding. So would you say that, Marie? I don't know that we have a good sense of that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, at least a significant portion.
I did give Beth. Go ahead, Beth.
Yeah, so I was just going to say, yeah, they're usually first-time applicants just because of the timing, because you often don't have enough time left on your program to come back and apply again. But we have had people apply for the second time if they were, turned down first. And I might have missed it, Betsy. Did you mention you can only be successful for one proposal during your graduate student career? So you don't get to come back and apply again if you've already been awarded one.
Correct. I did not mention that. Thank you. Yeah. So you are only eligible for one in your student career. So if you get if you get one while you're doing your master's and you go under your PhD or another master's, you wouldn't be eligible for that. Possibly you might be eligible for to apply for a research and education grant or a partnership grant. So there's other opportunities besides our graduate student grant. Thanks, Beth. Appreciate it.
Related to that, is the amount of times you've applied for this grant taken into consideration for scoring the grants?
You know, like Beth said, given that, you know, the grant student life cycle, we don't often get a lot of repeat applicants, but we do on occasion. So it's really not considered. It doesn't increase or decrease your competitiveness. If you do reapply with a project, like if you didn't get it the first time and you apply again, applicants do really need to show what they addressed in the reviewer's concerns the second time. So I would take that resubmission addressing reviewer comments seriously. Okay, Marie, thanks.
Are the effects of specific crops on human health, farmer health related outcomes out of the scope of the grant?
I would need to know more about that. We have funded. I would need to know more about the project. If you want to put a little bit more in the chat there.
Or you could follow up with a phone call.
Or you could yeah, you could definitely follow up with me afterwards. But we have funded you know, I think okay, so I've been around just over a year, so I'm still getting the lay of the land, but we have funded, you know, what are the components of food, but less on the food side of thing, more than on we fund more on the production side of things than we do on the food component of things, if that makes sense. So we would do more in production and marketing rather than the nutritional content of food, if that makes sense. Thanks, Beth, is adding into the chat the effect on human health of various crops, not out of scope. Yeah, but it can be expensive, right? Yeah. Thanks, Beth. I appreciate that. But again, happy to talk with people one-on-one. Okay, what else? Anything else?
What else? Is this proposal more related to fieldwork and extension personnel, or student whose work is more lab focused with few greenhouse projects has a fair chance of getting funded?
We definitely fund both. Thank you. Yeah, we definitely fund both lab work and field work and extension work.
And a little bit more clarification regarding the last question. I'm in a nutrition program, and I specifically study how whole grains influence gastrointestinal health. Thank you, and I may follow up with a one-on-one call.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Let's see. Up next, if your institution is in one region, but you plan to do some research in another region, are you still eligible for this grant program?
This is where, yeah, so this is the one that takes a little bit of finagling. If you are, if the work is not happening in our region, it would not be very competitive. You can check the other regions. I know NCR-SARE has their call out right now for graduate students, so you can check and see. But then they also sometimes you get in a catch-22 because if your institution is not in the region, you may not be eligible. So yeah, that one might be, if you want to give me a call, I can help you think through that one. We have funded, I'm seeing there from Felix, we do fund research and design and fabrication and farm tools. Yes, we've done it.
Is the program focused exclusively for food production? Curious about whether forestry, silviculture related questions and or ecological restoration related questions are eligible.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yep. Agroforestry. Yep. A landscape work, forestry as well. Yep. Those are definitely eligible. Mm-hmm.
When you talk about involving farmers in the grant proposal, does that mean how the project will impact farmers, or more like extension work, like working directly with the farmers for the project?
Might be both, right? So we definitely see situations where it is, maybe it's real lab work that, you know, the farmers can't really be involved in that lab work, but the implications for, you know, the impacts for farmers are definitely, there's a good correlation there. So we kind of do both, right? So, but you need to make it clear if it is something that, you know, this is lab work, but it will be usable by farmers this way in the next couple of years, right? So we also look for things that are implementable in the field in the next 2-3 years, right? So some things that are pretty far down the road might not be as competitive as something that could be used by farmers more in the near future. Hope that helps.
The next few questions are kind of related to project duration and application eligibility. So if a graduate student applies for less than 36 months duration, is it okay to apply?
Oh, absolutely. Yep. We have a range from, I think the shortest we tend to do is a year. I don't know that I've seen, maybe 11 months is the shortest probably that I've ever seen, to 36 months. So we definitely have some that go just like 1 year or one field season, to some people want multiple field seasons of data. So that's why we do have that flexibility. So it wouldn't decrease your competitiveness to have a short project.
Yeah. And so then the next question, which was, can a project with a 1 year duration be feasible?
Mhm.
Fundable.
We've seen
Feasible
it.
depends on the project.
Yeah, feasibility depends on the project. You know, again, if you're trying to get replications for your field seasons, that's one thing versus is it lab work, and then there's a component, you know, after that, or is it survey work? Sometimes graduate students they want to survey producers over a field season or over a winter workshop season or something like that. So it can be a pretty short duration. So again, it kind of depends on the project and what you want to accomplish.
And if you graduate before the March 1st, 2027 deadline for the annual review, could you still apply for the grant and provide the final report beforehand?
Yes, we would work with you, think through your project and what the duration is, and then we would work with you we would tell you what the requirements would be for the reporting.
Does this grant interfere with graduate funding such as GTA or GRA?
I am not sure on that one. I would need to take a note and get back to you about that one. So, Parisa, if you want to send me a note, I can follow up with you after the fact, if you let me do a little bit of homework.
Does SARE fund aquaculture related projects?
Yes, I do. Short version. Yes, we funded, yeah, yes, a variety of aquaculture projects. Yep.
Are international graduate students allowed to apply?
We do not look at your immigration or visa information. So we go by if you are enrolled in your accredited university or college. We leave that up to them. So if you're enrolled, then that is our eligibility requirement there.
Have food safety related projects been funded before?
Yes, we've done a fair number of good agricultural practices and the like. Again, that would be a great one to do some searching on the SARE database to see what you come up with. But yep.
If we're developing a survey regarding how the general public views risk or damage in relation to certain farming practice to inform and improve that management practice and environmental impacts, would this be applicable?
Interesting. Possibly. Yeah, I can see if you're showing in the vein of marketing and what it would help producers in their marketing. It's more of a direct marketing situation. Possibly.
Let's see. I believe I've answered all the questions except there's been a few questions about having the slides and the recording available. So I'll address that. After this meeting, we will post the recording of this webinar and the slides on the Graduate Student Grant webpage that was shared in the chat, where you also find the call for proposals. In addition to that, anyone who's registered for the webinar and provided their email address, that information is shared with Betsy, who's going to follow up with you all after this webinar to engage with you around the presentation and be able to answer any questions that you have that way as well.
Absolutely. Okay.
Let's see. Oh, one more question came in.
Yeah.
Looking at the projects that were selected last year, the cumulative grant exceeds $20,000, and I'm wondering if the grant limit is a total of $20,000 or $20,000 per year.
When you see cumulative total, that's the amount for all of the graduate student projects. How do they add up all together? So we've got 22 projects. What is all of that project total combined? So none of those individual projects were funded for more than $20,000.
Yes, 20,000 is the limit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that cumulative total gets a little confusing.
And I believe we've answered every question that was in the chat and the Q&A. There were quite a few. If I've missed your question, please throw it in the chat once more in the Q&A so we don't miss it. And then Betsy, if you have any closing remarks.
Oh, no, I don't think so. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate your participation and your good questions. And I hope you heard me, and I'll say again, reach out with questions. And we really do look forward to reading your proposals and hearing about the great ideas happening out there. So thanks for your time and have a great day.